Foreign Minister Penny Wong has given a speech to the Lowy Institute this afternoon where she claimed that a lack of diversity would be a threat to national security. In her Alan Gyngell lecture in Sydney, she took aim at Pauline Hanson's call for a monoculture.
I've always believed that the ability of Australians to connect with people from every part of the world is a national asset. A national asset that expands our choices in the world. The call for a monoculture is a call for Australia to curtail our choices and to cut off our connections. To look inwards, to have no friends to work with, no partners to trade with, and no opportunities to grow from.
Now, that is simply not what is meant by monoculture. It's not about cutting ourselves off from anyone. It's not about being intolerant to people from other backgrounds. It's not about living in silos. In fact, it's about getting people out of their silos. It's saying that as a country we should be one, all of us, no matter where we come from. We should all share one Australian culture rather than retreating to cultures from countries in which we no longer live. How that curtails our choices and connections, I don't know. It means, to me, a stronger Australia. But Ms Wong went on to say it would make Australia less secure in the world.
But well before we could ever realise this melancholic fantasy of monoculture, there is a lot of damage that could be done. Because Australians would be turned against each other. Australia would be a more hostile place, harder to be family, harder to be friend, colleague or neighbour. At a time where external and internal forces are seeking to divide us, turning Australians against each other makes us more vulnerable. Division makes us easier to exploit. It does not make us stronger.
Again, she says we'd be turned against each other. Well, no, not unless people want to separate themselves from Australian culture, in which case, why do you live in Australia? The idea is to bring us all together under one culture, not to make it harder to be a friend or a colleague or a neighbour, but easier, because we all share something. And this idea that it threatens our national security. A country united by a common culture and thus a common goal ought to be far more secure than one where many cultures operate in their own little pockets with their own objectives. And while I'm talking about foreign affairs, the Prime Minister had an overnight phone call with US Donald Trump where Anthony Albanese pushed for tariffs on Australia to be dropped.
The ask that I made of the President is that he consider full exemption, and the President agreed that he would give consideration to my request.
Joining me now to discuss all of this is Strategic Analysis Australia Director Michael Shoebridge. Michael, good to see you as always. I'll start with Penny Wong's comments, the Foreign Minister at the Lowy Institute today. Do you agree with her assessment that a monoculture, by which Pauline Hanson meant, you know, we all share one culture as opposed to having multiple different cultures operating under multiculturalism as we know it today, would somehow lead to a weakening of our place in the world and put us in a more dangerous place geopolitically?
No, Caleb, I thought it was a really odd speech. I mean, we're all used to Foreign Minister Wong using her speeches to congratulate herself on how magnificent she is. In this one, she even mused about how a dead historian might write glowingly of her were he still alive. But on the Pauline Hanson stuff, she was amazing. It turns out Pauline Hanson is like the Voldemort for the Labor Party, you know, this evil villain that can't be named. So we got this entire speech allegedly about foreign policy, but really self-congratulations combined with pretty awful domestic politics from Penny Wong.
It's quite extraordinary, and I don't understand how you can legitimately argue that uniting a country under one culture, and that's not to say that you come from another country and therefore you must forget that you've come from another country. Of course, we welcome good parts of other cultures to be part of ours, but uniting under one culture is exactly what you need in order to have a country that could stand up to foreign conflict or to threats, I would have thought. You need a country that is united under a common goal, and if you have a fractured country caused by many cultures operating in their own silos, you don't get that.
No, and how ironic to have a government minister use a speech allegedly about foreign policy to talk all about domestic politics and then use it in quite a divisive way and pretend she's calling for unity. I mean, it really was magical thinking from Penny Wong. Maybe she's hoping nobody but the Labor Party faithful will read this speech.
Well, too late. We've talked about it here. Just quickly, Michael, speaking of magical thinking, of course, the Prime Minister had a chat with Donald Trump overnight. He asked him to reconsider the tariffs that are currently on Australia. What do you think the chances are of any movement?
I think they're zero. And in fact, when the Prime Minister briefed journalists about his call with Donald Trump, we've only got the Prime Minister's readout, by the way. There's nothing from the White House. President Trump didn't think it was a priority to say what they talked about. We got an entire laundry list of stuff. AI, Trump's birthday, bushfires, Fiji, space. Tariffs only came up when a journalist asked a question. And what the Prime Minister got, what it all boils down to, is Trump not being rude to him. But Trump will not change course on this, and the Prime Minister knows that. Indeed.
Michael Shoebridge, good to see you as always.
Quick favour. If you are the kind of person who loves Australia and loves to be up to date on what is going on in our country's politics, hit that subscribe button and click the bell. It helps us keep this channel going. Over 90% of viewers have not yet, and it would mean the world to us if you did. Thank you. Now back to the show. Penny Wong just delivered a national security address at the Lowy Institute and named exactly 0 foreign enemies. Not one hostile state, not one rival power. The threat she warned the country about, the one she called a genuine danger to our security, was you, the everyday Australian who believes one shared culture holds this country together. G'day Australia, your foreign minister has run out of real adversaries, so she has started inventing them at home. And here's the detail the headlines will bury. Her argument, wrapped in words like strategic capital and diplomatic agility, is that monoculturalism is a threat to national security. She did not say which country is attacking us. She did not say which border is at risk. She said wanting a unified Australian culture is the danger. That is not foreign policy. That is a domestic attack wearing a diplomatic costume. Michael Shoebridge, the former defence analyst, called it what it was, a really odd speech, more politics than policy, and noted it leaned on praise from a historian no longer here to defend the claim.
But the real tell was not in what Wong said, it was in what she refused to say. In 40 minutes, she never once spoke Pauline Hanson's name, not a single syllable. She spent the entire speech shadowboxing a senator she would not acknowledge, like a villain too feared to be named. That is not courage. That is a government that has decided dissent is so dangerous it cannot even be spoken aloud, while claiming it wants to unite us. And what does Hanson actually argue? That a shared culture builds trust, cohesion, and resilience. That unity is the flaw beneath diversity, not the enemy of it. You can disagree with her, you should debate her, but calling that position a national security threat is not a rebuttal. It is an attempt to criminalize the people you cannot beat in an argument. Then the phone rang and the mask slipped completely. Anthony Albanese called Donald Trump to ask for a full exemption from American tariffs and came back announcing the president would give it consideration. That is diplomatic code for no, delivered with a smile. No White House confirmation, no commitment, no leverage. Just a prime minister hoping nobody asks the follow-up question. Do not forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this. It genuinely helps us bring you these stories. There's the whole truth in 2 scenes. At home, we are told our culture is the threat and our unity is the danger. Abroad, our government is on the phone, hat in hand, asking an ally who does not need us for a favour it will not receive. One is a lecture about strength that names no enemy. The other is the actual state of our leverage. The gap between them is not a coincidence. It is the